one day I opened up the glove box and there was this programming device in there to tune the car. And I started playing with it, started figuring out how it works and trying to basically tune the car with this programming device. I ended up actually blowing the ECU on that car, and then that car became immobile for about 2 months. But through that process, I found a contact in the United States. His name was Daz Dillinger. He was one of the best tuners for that platform while he was alive. And it all started with him basically tuning my car. The emotions that flooded when I experienced the car from going not tuned to tuned after we got a new ECU for it were amazing. I could not even begin to explain how I felt in that moment, apart from pure adrenaline rush. I couldn't stop smiling, couldn't stop like giggling to myself like a child. And from that point on, I was like, wow, what if I could share this with other people and make other people feel like this? And that's basically where the idea started. So I started learning about how the tuning process starts and how these things play out. And I did a lot of research. I bought some extra computers for my car. After doing my own car, my mate was like, oh, can you do my car? Ended up doing his car, and then a mate became friends of friends, family, and then extended friends. Then eventually I was like, I should just start a business. And everyone's like, you should just start a business. And so I did. And
welcome, everyone. This is episode 4 of the High Performance Management Podcast. Today, I'm joined with Joshua Laborde, CEO and founder of the Laborde Group, which has got Damos files in it, LM tuning, and carbon code. Been best mates with Josh since we're 7, 8 now, and did soccer. And it's been an absolute pleasure to see you grow. And I no doubt everyone's going to get something amazing out of this episode. So thanks so much for coming on, mate. It's really good to have you here. I guess we'll just start. What you do is a bit specialized, and I don't think it really, you can just get it in like a one-word thing. So how about we start there? Like with your main business, LM Tuning, what is it exactly you do?
So at a core of what I do is it's recalibration services for powertrain controllers. And I'll explain that as simply as I can. Essentially, a powertrain controller is some form of control unit which manages a powertrain component, whether that's a transmission or an engine. And my specialty is with petrol systems mostly. And I recalibrate powertrain controllers, so engine controllers, transmission controllers, for the general purpose of performance optimization. So it's all about trying to make a car faster, make it perform better, whether that's fuel economy, whether that's power. Usually it's power and performance. And that's essentially what I do, at its most basic level, with Laborde Motorsport.
Yeah, awesome. Hopefully that hit some people and they got that. Essentially, make car go fast.
Yes, exactly right.
But it's also cool because I know I've seen you do the different contracts and that, but you've got the ability, to do AdBlue settings and things like that with governments, and you've got that kind of transition to Damos where you're doing the actual software. So maybe can you just give us a rundown of the 3 companies at the moment you have, at least?
Yeah, of course. Well, it's funny because I always saw an opportunity when one presented itself, and then I think from there it just was like, oh, why not create a support network in a business that actually facilitates that? So it started off with what initially was LM Tuning, which was the first name of our brand, and then LM Tuning became Laborde Motorsport when we finally registered as a proprietary limited company. And then Laborde Motorsport then eventually evolved into things like Damos files and carbon code. And basically, to explain those companies, apart from Laborde Motorsport, is that's the performance tuning side of things. Carbon code specializes more on emissions solutions, octane reduction. So I'll give you an example what I mean by both of those. Octane reduction is a process whereby a secondhand vehicle might be imported from a market where there is a high quality fuel. And let's say, for instance, that's 98 octane. When a vehicle that's supposed to run 98 octane gets imported into a country that can't actually provide that high octane fuel, we need to adjust the parameters in the ECU so that the car can run on the lower quality fuel. So that's what we do at Carbon Code, as an example. And then regarding the emissions things, often there are emission systems which have failed. So we help to re-enlist those emission systems and to repair them. And then obviously we've got Damos Files, which is my other support business, which specializes in training. It specializes in creating tuner definitions to help other tuners around the world tune cars. And just a whole lot of development things that we do to, yeah. Sorry, this is like I'm just trying to think about it in my head. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we do, and mostly Damos Files is a support business for other tuners around the world to help them be able to tune cars. So that's, yeah, it all just evolved. Honestly, it started with me tuning, then another service that I found interesting to me, I then provided through another business, which I thought would be a good idea. So it just sort of rolled and rolled and rolled, and it's continuing to roll. New business ideas come up, and then let's start a new company supporting that sort of idea. And yeah, it's involving yourself with good people around you who have the ability to provide that. So yeah, it's just been an ever evolving process.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway is getting specialized knowledge, especially in today's economy. A lot of people I speak to anyway, that the standard job just isn't cutting it anymore. Cost of living's a lot higher, and we are going down that path. Like you see it in the educational businesses now, like there's specialized knowledge that they're selling. And that's like a whole new industry that's come out. So yeah, I think for anyone out there that's like looking to start something, find that one thing and get very fucking good at it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it kind of evolves from there. Hey,
exactly
so
right.
I guess that's like a good intro to like where you started. Like, where did you even like get this specialized knowledge? Like you didn't just wake up and you've got
wow.
3 companies and, all around the world. So yeah, let's go back to the very beginning then, before LM started. Yeah, take us there.
Yeah, so right at the beginning, it started out when my father and I went to go look at a car to buy, and it was an Audi S4 B5. We bought the car. It was an amazing car. It had all the performance goodies on it. And one day I opened up the glove box, and there was this programming device in there to tune the car. And I started playing with it, started figuring out how it works, and trying to basically tune the car with this programming device. I ended up actually blowing the ECU on that car, and then that car became immobile for about 2 months. But through that process, I found a contact in the United States. His name was Daz Dillinger. He was one of the best tuners for that platform while he was alive. Unfortunately, he did pass away. But during the time at which I spoke to him, he was a great influence on the motivation behind me getting into tuning and learning about tuning. And it all started with him basically tuning my car. The emotions that flooded when I experienced the car from going not tuned to tuned after we got a new ECU for it were amazing. I could not even begin to explain how I felt in that moment, apart from pure adrenaline rush. I couldn't stop smiling, couldn't stop like giggling to myself like a child. And that was just so positively overwhelming and influencing on my life. And from that point on, I was like, wow, what if I could share this with other people and make other people feel like this? And that's basically where the idea started. So I started learning about how the tuning process starts and how these things play out. And I did a lot of research. I bought some extra computers for my car just so I wouldn't blow them up and leave my car immobilized again. I did end up blowing these ECUs up, and I did end up leaving my car immobilized again. But it's all part of the learning process. It's all trial and error. And there are no courses. There are no university things. There are no standard infrastructure or any sort of education and training around this industry in terms of what I do now. So having to do it all myself was a big learning curve, especially for someone who just had a mild interest in cars, because I used to go on car cruises as a child. So it was a massive learning curve. And I ended up, after doing my own car, my mate was like, oh, can you do my car? Ended up doing his car, and then a mate became friends of friends, family, and then extended friends. Then eventually I was like, I should just start a business. And everyone's like, you should just start a business. And so I did. And from that point, it was me in first of all, my bedroom. I started this business out of through an idea. That bedroom became my garage. That garage became my own house, and my own garage in my own house. And then it ended up becoming a workshop, which is where we are now. We've got dyno facilities now, and most of the top tier equipment to tune cars now. And we've got the support of so many people around the world. And it's been an amazing journey, and made a lot of mistakes. But I think the important thing is that you learn from those mistakes. I was not particularly, I didn't have a lot of integrity in the beginning. And that was one of my biggest shortfalls, was learning from my, I guess, arrogance and ignorance, being some young guy making some money. You know what I mean? Like any young person making a lot of money is probably going to think big of themselves and make a lot of terrible decisions, push a lot of people away. And I think for me, that was a really big learning curve. So I've learned now to have integrity, to do the right thing. My passion is there. I love what I do. And my work quality now is I try my absolute hardest with everything. So that's where it all started, and that's where we are now.
Yeah, that's actually nuts. Like I didn't know you bought the car and there was like a tuning device in there. Like if like what's that? Like
yeah, exactly.
Everyone talks about like destiny and things like that, and
it following
a path. That's absolutely crazy. But then also like you had to still plan and take action, and even had to have courage to do that type of stuff, because like I think people, when they think they want to start a business, there's all these new roadblocks that come. So you become like that person. You're like, oh, I think I can do this. And then you got to go through that whole process of like having the courage to do it, like putting yourself out there for that first time. And then,
man. And it's even just like getting the capital to start a business is very difficult, especially for my case. I didn't have any investors. So mine was all organic growth. My father put in $5,000 in the start. And that $5,000 got me the absolute bare minimum, and then from that point on, I made a name for myself, ended up making a contact in the Philippines, in Manila. That turned into a really big upfront sum, because we had, I think, 12 or 14 cars booked in. So then they flew me to the Philippines to do those cars. 14 cars became 21 cars. And that paid for my laptop, that paid for new tuning tools, that paid for all sorts of new things that I needed to do to start this business up. It's just been amazing. Honestly, it's been such an experience, and I love every moment of it. All the highs and lows, you know what I mean? There are so many highs and there's just as many lows, but it's all amazing, to experience that and to go through it.
And I think we're speaking about it now, like you've got like a global brand and multiple companies, but I think people probably won't realize this, but how old were you when you first started?
So I started learning to tune at about 16 years of age.
Yeah.
I started
very early on.
very, very, very early on. And then I started basically tuning for other people, even overseas, through emails, sending software and all those sorts of things at about 18.
Yeah.
So I remember tuning Audis in Colorado. I think I've got some on my Instagram. You go through my Instagram, you go right down. You'll see 2018, 2019, I'm posting about tuning. I think from then, just between 18 and 22 was the sort of big growth internally within the company in Australia. And then now it's amazing. There's my brand name and my name on workshops overseas, and there's actual physical locations with my name and my brand logos and all that sort of stuff on products, on shelves in other countries. And it's really cool to see that. And I love it.
Yeah, that photo Josh just went to, he did was it the LM Asia tour? Where did you go? You went?
So it started off in KL in Malaysia, and that was with Andrew Yik. He's such a great guy. And I got to see the Malaysian workshop for the first time, and pulling up to the shop, my logo, my name's on the front, and it was just so cool. We got in, we had such a great time.
Unreal. I saw that. I was just like, that's it. Like,
it was
this
amazing.
Started, in your bedroom, and now it's like proper, like Jeff Bezos story.
Oh, well, that's the thing.
It's awesome. Yeah,
you'll see me like early on in the piece. I used to share Jeff Bezos's picture of Amazon.com on the wall. It was I think he painted or wrote it on a sign and then just put it on the wall. It was not very particularly nice looking. However, I like that I kind of come from the same roots where my organic growth has been from pretty much nothing. I didn't have some seriously wealthy investor come in and bring me from zero to hero. I've been through the last 7-8 years now doing it myself, step by step, like Jeff Bezos has, like the people at Microsoft and Google have, and I'm trying to keep it as organic as I can with minimal outsider influence and investment, because I also believe at heart that I will always have the right intentions for my business because I run it. It's my name on it. Whereas I feel like investors, obviously their main motive usually is financial gain. So for me, it's not just about the financial gain; it's about the experience of running a business that I love.
Yeah, which I
Yeah,
think that's such an important thing as well, because people, especially now, you see all these guys making heaps of money really fast in crypto, all these
yeah,
e-com experts, but like ultimately it's just people wanting fast money, and then they kind of fail to realize like why they want fast money.
yeah,
What's the money
exactly.
going to be for? Like that's such a huge thing. It's like you don't get money from just like doing something. You get it for providing value in the marketplace, and someone then
100%.
seeing and being like, hey, that's actually worth more than what I'm willing to pay, so therefore you have my money. And I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
people need to see that it's not just not just starting it for the money, like you started for
100%.
that excitement you felt, and you
Yeah.
wanted to share that. And obviously it's a lot deeper than when people want to come make their car faster. They don't really think about it, but then you see their
Mm.
faces after that, right?
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and
I have.
that's
Sorry for cutting you off.
no, that's all right. I was gonna say
I
that's
was,
priceless. Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely, man. And like, if it was about the money, I'd be taking every and any customer I can. But I've learned a lot over the last few years, and honestly, I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can be selective about my clients. I feel like there are people out there, although who would throw money my way for certain things. I don't take on that work because it's either a reputational liability or it's in some form a legal liability or even just personal liability for some things. Like customers might be certain that this is what they want, but they won't take the due diligence to take care of their car. So they bring you a car that's kind of broken in some way, and you're expected to tune it for them, and they haven't even just taken care of the basic servicing. Although yes, I could take their money and provide my service, that wouldn't be having integrity and doing the right thing by them. So no,
Yeah.
it's definitely not about the money. No, definitely not.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that will show as well, because like being selective, like you said, comes from your integrity, and
Yeah.
it comes from knowing your customer too, which I think is also like an important part to, like, I think in your growth stage now, it is about you're trying to like niche down and really find a certain people, and it
Oh
changes how you
yeah,
do your
definitely.
marketing, because you're at that stage now. Like you've been kind of a solo entrepreneur for a while, and then you started getting all your dealers.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about that. I think there's a lot of people that listen to this that have businesses and things like that, and I think there's like multiple levels to it. You don't just like get it and then you're like, oh, I earn 500,000. So it's like
No.
there's like that 0 to 100,000, which I remember. Like, what was it 20? Was it 2020 when we were,
Yeah,
where
we
you
we
first
sat
hit?
down together and we jotted down our financial goals, business
Yeah,
goals, and all those sorts of things. I
was it?
remember
I
it.
think that was 2019. Yeah, and I just remember you being like, "Oh, I'd love to earn. What was it, like 2,000 a week or something?"
Yeah,
And
it
at
was
the
fifteen
time,
hundred dollars a week because at the
yeah,
time I was earning $200 a week, $200
yeah, from your
through
tunes
tuning.
and that. Hey, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, only
yeah,
200. But you have to realize, as you were saying before, Corey, that success doesn't happen overnight. And for those that it does, it is most often returned back to a state of being poor just as quickly as they got it. Things like the lotto, things like crypto, poor management of their own finances, poor management of their own strategies, goals, and expectations will lead to a loss of, that gain of
yeah.
income that they had. If they weren't
But
careful about
it's
it.
because they didn't become the person that needed to earn that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
No.
if I just won the lottery and I got $100 million, that's different from someone that's worked 15 years and has the capacity to make $100
Oh
million in
yeah.
the marketplace. Like
Oh
they're
exactly.
two different people. Hey,
Oh yeah,
um,
exactly.
so like when you were going like first that transition phase from just doing tunes to like for yourself, like people, you had like a Facebook page, or I don't know how you were doing it for referrals, and then that first bit of like, okay, how can we like level this business up, and you started getting dealers, right? So like maybe
Yep.
walk us through that, because that was, I think, a important step in the growth of your business.
Oh, for sure. So obviously many people make light work, right? And what do they say? Like the team makes a dream work, or yeah, teamwork makes a dream work.
Yeah,
Well, It was pretty much along those lines. I had a financial goal at the time. Let's say from once we hit the $1,500 a week, maybe my goal at the time was $5,000 a week income through the business. So I thought to myself, well, how can I maximize my profits between now and my goal being maybe a year's time, with just myself? And to be honest with you, it would have required me to work serious hours or seriously upskill in an amount of time which I didn't have to play with. Often in my industry, to upskill and to be able to provide a new service takes a long time to be able to get to the point where you can provide that service. So for me, I thought about venturing out and talking to workshops around the world that might be interested in providing my service through their shop. So at the time, I focused on particularly Volkswagen and Audi Group, mostly the 1.8 and 2 liter turbos. And there were people out there who were like, look, yeah, I've had customers come in with a Golf, or I've had customers come in with an Audi S3. I am looking to get it tuned, but they are looking to get it tuned, but they didn't have the means to provide that service. So I came to them and basically said, look, the investment doesn't actually go to me, the money. The investment pays for the tools that allows you to provide that service. And then within 2 or 3 tunes, you will have paid off that initial investment. And then the rest of it's just profit from there. And I've always believed as well that my dealers should get about 2/3 of the profit from our service, and I take 1/3 of the profit for providing the service to them. So because they're on the physical end, they have to do the hard work, and they obviously take on the liability in terms of the physical liability. So I always made sure that they got a profit out of it, because when people are paid a good amount of money, they're always going to work harder, and they're obviously going to respect what they're doing a lot more. Whereas if they're fighting for chips and crumbs, they're not going to be as, I guess, hold as much integrity, because they're just going to be trying to get as much work in as they can to make up the profit. So for my dealers and the really great people that I do work with, I make sure that I maximize the amount of profit that they're getting, so that they can continue to uphold the best work that they can.
Yeah. Which, obviously reflects on LM as well.
Yeah.
And so like you got your first few dealers, and what was like that first one, like that first dealer you got, and then how far from that to the others, what was that time frame like?
Oh, so essentially our first dealer would have been maybe about a month later, post my financial goals. And
Wow.
from that point, that dealer ended up actually closing their shop doors anyway. So we actually ended up branching out and going to more dealers. And one of the things that I've also learned in business as well, with dealers, particularly people who engage in your services or provide your services, it may be a good idea in the beginning, but it's not until you start doing business with someone until you realize that maybe they aren't a good fit for your brand, or they aren't a good fit for even just to collaborate with in work. You know what I mean? So a lot of people, again, are in it for the money. And that shows after a lot of business. You might get people where they come back and they say, oh, I'm not happy with XYZ. And it's like, well, to be honest, those problems that you're having aren't a result of the work that I've done. They're a result of other factors which you haven't checked. Or maybe, again, like I'll give you an example. All of our tunes require data logs or dyno logs to be sent back to me, so that I can review that the engine and transmission and whatnot is operating as I have calibrated it to. Some of my dealers in the past haven't sent me back data logs and all of this information, and just sent customers out the door. Now, obviously that puts a bad representation on my brand, because maybe the next day there's an issue with the car or something like that, and that would fall back on me and my brand. And I really had no say at that point. So what I do now is I put in processes and procedures in place. We've got our own pre-tune inspection form, post-tune inspection form for engine gearboxes, our own defined process. I provide full training for free to my dealers on all the data logging, diagnostics, on all of the vehicles that we cover. It's I've got full professional documentation that they can fill out. Like it's a very corporate refined process now. And that's basically enabled me to cut down the bad dealers, or the people I was doing business with who didn't represent the brand well, to now having the amount of dealers that I do, which is, by the way, much less than I had before. At one point I had 20 dealers. Now I think I have about 5. And that is honestly because I believe, honestly, we have much less dealers now. But the thing that I know for sure is that the quality of work that's coming out of the workshops that I do work with is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want there to be any discrepancy of any form of quality between any of the workshops. I want them all to be the highest quality that they can be. And to be honest, that did require me to cull some of the income of the company, but it was for the better because the representation that the dealers who were good gave the company benefited the brand.
Yeah. And have you
Yeah.
seen that, like, because obviously that's a pretty big thing. You would have analyzed, okay, like this is hurting the brand. You had to then, actually make a hard decision and get rid of these people, which, that maybe that what they were relying on that part, and you just had to be like, look, for the growth of my company, we've got to get rid of you. Like,
Yeah.
doing that next like part in the process is involved. Like, how did you know that was the right thing? Like, well, like,
Yeah, no, I
that's
get you.
it's pretty big.
It's hard to cut
like,
off people in
yeah,
business, especially when they've put money up front to work with you.
yeah,
I think that often it was a mutual understanding. So there would be ongoing issues, or there would be things that I wasn't satisfied with, and I'd be like, look, I'm going to provide you with an exit here. I'm going to give you the ability to sell on your tools to someone who is going to be able to do what the expectations are of my company. And you'll get all the money back that you paid for your tools. And, you made maybe 10, 15, 20, 50 grand at the time that we've worked together. However, the relationship that we have is more damaging to my brand than it is worth the money. So
yeah,
at that point, I would alleviate the pressure off my own company by basically on selling those tools to someone else. And that's what the process has been for those people. It has been difficult. There have been, many times where things have been said on either end, and it is just a case of people aren't always going to agree with you. People aren't always going to like what you have to say or agree with your decisions. But at the end of the day, again, I know what's best for my company. I know what's best for my brand. I have the right intentions, and not everyone else does. So again, profiteering, not something that's not my main goal here.
yeah.
So yeah,
you want
it
to
is what it
provide a
is.
good service for your customers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And have
exactly.
you seen, like, where how long ago was that?
So,
You started doing these
oh,
processes and
oh yeah, okay. So basically, the process of culling businesses away from my own, that would have been as soon as maybe 6 months after our first dealer. There were some dealers who may have been undercutting me, or maybe they went and got another tuner, and then they were using my brand to front their business and then bringing in cheaper tunes and then on selling it that way. So I've caught two of my dealers, or two dealers, doing that before, and it's a common thing in this industry. Like I said, everyone's out to make a dollar. They use the brand to create some form of reputation that they then sell the shit. It reminds me a lot of The Big Short. It's like selling mortgage bonds and branding them as AAAs, and they're actually made up of B's and C's.
Yeah.
Same sort of shit.
And like, again, quick money like ends fast.
Oh, it definitely does,
So
man.
it shows. And obviously, like, you've been doing this for 7-8 years now. Like, there's been times where businesses dropped off. I guess this
100%.
is like one point where, like, you had to, if you didn't stop and notice that these dealers were doing this and it was impacting the reputation of a brand, you might have failed. You might have lost enough income you couldn't support yourself. So, like, what's some other things recently that you've seen the business drop off and you've implemented these new strategies? And, like, I know one of them was branching out, doing Damos files,
100%.
during that period. So, like, maybe talk about that, like laterally moving your business.
Sure.
That's like a really interesting thing for other serial entrepreneurs out there.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, if you look for any entrepreneur who's looking to grow a business or branch out their business, do other things, if you've got a skill and you can capitalize on that skill, there is no reason for you not to. And as long as obviously you uphold integrity and you want to do the right thing about it, then there should be no reason for you not to be able to do those sorts of things. Now, Damos Files was an initiative that I was recommended to undertake by a friend of mine who was also in the tuning industry. He said, Josh, look, you're good at creating definitions for other tuners to be able to tune their own cars. Figuring out all the maps for those particular engine control units, transmission control units, so that tuners can tune these cars. Why don't you just start a business? He's like, my other mate's got a business similar to that, and he makes about 100,000 euros a year doing it. he's like, Josh, you could easily do this. And honestly, within a year, exact same thing happened for me. And I was very fortunate to take my mate's advice. He has been a mentor of mine during my growth period, and even up to now, I still talk to him sometimes. And we tennis racket ideas to each other. And yeah, like it started from that. And then Damos Files grew. The customer support base was already there because tuners who knew of me and my brand would go, oh, Josh is now doing this particular service through this business. Let's start using him for that. So then I'd have a lot of top companies coming to me for definitions on things. We were the first people in the world to develop the GI Yaris map pack for tuners, for Winol. So we did a run with that, sold that to many different businesses. That's our base file, and our base tune is now the base tune that's sold on most from most tuning companies. So most of the Yarises out there in some way have come from the work that I've done in their tunes. So that's been really exciting and really cool. And there have been times where you can often, instead of branching out with a new business, you can exchange your service for another service. So there have been times where I've needed things from other businesses, and I provided my service to them in exchange for a service that I need. For instance, whether it's a new tuning tool. I know with Auto Tuner, I provided them with a service on some CPC solutions with the Mercedes-Benz vehicles, and they gave me a free tuning tool up to the value of $8,000. So that was really cool. Creating relationships with people and doing it that way. And Damos Files was built on the backbone of the existing relationships that I had formed through tuning with Laborde Motorsport. And it's just, honestly, if I can provide another service, I've got the means to provide it. I've got the customer base that's ready to go. What's the harm in trying? Like it's a business model that's not proven to work, but it's highly likely that it's going to be profitable. So I just went ahead with it, and it turned out to be very good, and it kept my brand in Laborde Motorsport and just me alive a lot of the time. Like when COVID hit and there were not many workshops open.
Hey,
yeah, man. Like Damos Files is bringing in the money that we needed to survive.
Yeah.
At times,
do you think if you didn't do you think if you didn't have that you would have had to stop, or like have you thought about that before?
Yeah, man, 100%. I would.
Was that like how was that? Because we were living together. For everyone that doesn't know, like we were housemates. So I remember those times we were all locked down in the house together. But I don't think I've even thought about it until like now. Like, was there that? But like, because I know you started Damos because you're like, oh man, it's drying up a bit. You had to get some revenue from another source. Like, what did that go through your head? Like that, this could fail.
Here's the thing that my dad always says is necessity breeds invention. So if you are required to do something because of external circumstances, if you're a true go-getter, a true entrepreneur, you will do what is required in order to get you to where you need to be. And no is basically not an option. And that's what it was for me. I was sitting there, I saw my income dropping. I saw Laborde Motorsport, the tunes were not being booked in, of course, because we couldn't, even overseas, and locally. So I relied on my relationships with tuners around the world, and for where lockdowns weren't occurring, I was targeting those, well, not targeting, but I was working with those people in those particular countries where they still hadn't had lockdowns yet, or they weren't as seriously affected, and maximizing the relationship there so that I could keep the income flowing. And, we went from, I think, earning maybe $5,000 a week, down to maybe almost nothing some weeks through Laborde Motorsport. Then Damos Files is the thing that kept me alive, kept food on the table, kept the rent being paid. Yeah, it needed to happen. And I would stay up sometimes to 3 a.m. in the morning just to be able to make sure that I made it to the next day. And you just have to hustle. You have to do what you got to do to get where you need to be, man. And that was what it was during that time.
I really remember that. That was a cool thing for you to see. It was, because that was exactly what's happening. It's like COVID. That's, you had to do something. Otherwise, like, what, you're gonna give up? No. Yeah,
no. Giving up's not an option. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go. Work for the man is the saying. That's not. I'm not really particularly interested in doing that. So yeah.
Plus, you built this already. That was what you'd have it. What, 3 years by that point? I think 2 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just, I didn't want to let go of something that I spent a lot of time on. I made a lot of good relationships. I had my dealer network that was ready to start up again when COVID had finished, and
Yeah.
it would have been a massive letdown for myself and my friends and the people I was in business with. And
Yeah.
again, no wasn't an option. People do rely on me now as well for even their own income. Like you think about the people overseas who have basically survived through using my services, like that's what's got them to pay for their mortgages and their families and food on the table, and they're relying on me to be there for them. So obviously I shouldn't take that on board, but as the CEO of my business, I always consider how the people and my associates in my company are going to fare based on the decisions that I make, whether that's a price change on my services or whether that's the services in general. So my decisions trickle effect everyone. So I need to be very, very careful about the ones that I do make.
Yeah, I think you said a really important thing there, which is about mindset, about not having second options. Like I think that's where people like you gotta ask, right? Like, why is there some people that succeed and why is there some that don't? And like I'm sure you've thought about this, but like that's massive. Like not having a second option, like having the goal, and like no matter what obstacle comes, just you have that like hunger and desire to just push through those goals. Like what's kind of driving that for you?
Well, honestly, my goals often come from trying to prove to myself that I can do something. I was always told as a child or in school or at university or by my competitors, you'll never be able to do that. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not qualified. You don't have this, that, the other. And I remember one of my direct competitors calling me a Google engineer, which I thought was hilarious because I actually used to work in the marketing team for Google. So I thought that was fucking so funny. And so I posted a picture of my Google outfit to him, and that was hilarious. He didn't reply to that. But honestly, like for me, my initial motivation came from incorrectly proving others wrong, which is not a good source of motivation, to be honest with you. It's quite cynical and arrogant, and that's why I was quite an arrogant character in the beginning and made a lot of mistakes. But for now, it's because I like enriching my life and I like enriching the company, and I like to basically enjoy what I'm doing and just try new things all the time. I'm constantly innovating. That's one of the things that an entrepreneur always has to do, is come up with new ideas and innovate. So for me, my motivation now is all about, what can I do now? Like, what next thing can I come up with? I have all these crazy ideas in my head. Can I make it a reality? And an example of that, for instance, might be, so McLarens and Ferraris, they don't have the ability to burble and crackle based on driving mode, but Mercedes-Benz does. So one of the initiatives that I undertook myself was to take out that functionality of a Mercedes-Benz and put it into Ferrari or put it into McLaren and give that sense of character and functionality to a different car. And that to me was an awesome project. And that's something that I wanted to undertake. No one's done it before. And I like doing things that are new, that no one's done before. If you go through Damos files, I'm constantly posting tuner definitions for cars that no one has ever supported before. And, it's finding that niche, specializing, and innovating all the time. You look at, I've been watching Masterclass by Richard Branson. The amount of times he's had to innovate, and every single reiteration of an innovation has been a new company for him that he's used to support his existing companies. And my idea is going to go through the same thing. Laborde Group owns Damos Files and Laborde Motorsport and Carbon Code, and any other business that I create is always going to be a support company to the rest of them. It's going to be a very similar sort of structure to Virgin Group that Richard Branson's done. And that's sort of where I see this going. Yeah. Very excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, you've got to have those big goals driving you. So what is next? Like, I think you touched on that a little bit, but like in terms of LM, like I know a big concern at the moment is like just how you went. You had the obstacle of the dealers undercutting, and we had COVID. That was a big one. And obviously, I think the next hurdle is you mentioned, electric vehicles coming out. It's a whole new beast. So in terms of the growth of LM, or like, are you looking to exit? Are you looking to continue to grow, step out, have other people? Like, what's in that sense? Like, what's next for you?
Okay, I'm going to say it. I would like, hypothetically, perfect situation. Obviously, perfect doesn't always exist, but if I could create a team that could become its own motorsport racing team and then eventually somehow work its way up to Formula One, something like that would just be incredible. All the people who are in my team and in my company would be the support network behind that and facilitate that to happen. But between now and then, that could be 10 years time. But right now, the next step for me is basically ensuring that I am 100% compliant, ensuring that I am doing the best work that I can for my dealers, and also creating basic tunes that cannot be provided anywhere else in the world. So I'm going to set up a tuning shop here in Australia, in Perth, second to the one I've got now, and they're going to have the world-class dyno equipment, world-class emissions testing equipment. Every single tune is going to get an emissions report with the tune. It's going to have full compliance with it, all data logs, dyno graphs, information. The client is going to get its own folder, going to have stickers in there, merchandise, bag. I'm going to make the experience of coming to Laborde Motorsport like nowhere else in the world. It's going to be like, just, I want people to walk in and I want them to smile from the moment they walk through the door to the moment they leave, and every single time they get in their car. I want it to be so inspiring as an experience to work with us and to have us work with your car, that it just motivates people just to enjoy their car more. And that's really what Laborde Motorsport's about. It's about enhancing the driving experience, and I said it in a few promotional videos before. Sorry. Like AMG has one man, one engine, Laborde Motorsport is one tune for each and every individual car that's specialized to that car. So, we'll stay true to that. Man.
Yeah. No, I love that. That I can see how that would work really well. And you're right. I don't think there is a place like that. We're kind of getting that now with, a bit laterally thinking, but you've got your wellness centers where you go in and you get your whole, your cold plunge, your cryotherapy, the massage work, and you got like a personalized. It's kind of the same thing, but for cars. I don't
exactly
think
right.
That's not. I can see how you would transition that to Formula One as well. That is big. And then what about the software side of things? Is that something you're gonna keep doing? Is that just like how do you manage growing multiple companies? This is something I personally have no experience in.
Finding the right people is essential to growing a brand or growing a company. And I have surrounded myself with people who I do wholeheartedly trust. Trust is a very big thing in business, and I find that it is difficult to trust people. I often believe that it takes many years of business with someone to trust them. It's not something that is often granted upon an initial interaction with someone. It is something that is earned, I believe, and that's only because my industry has proven me otherwise. You know what I mean? Like, has not proven me otherwise. Rather, I have you give people trust initially, and they usually they'll break it because they're most interested in profiteering or doing the wrong thing by others, whereas I'm not interested at all by doing that. I want the best thing for my brand. I want the best thing for the people who work with me and my customers. And one of the things that people will often experience, and I'm saying this from experience, is you will have people who want to shoot you down. You will have people who try to drag you down that you don't even know. I have people all the time, names I've never heard of, people shit posting on my page, people bringing the brand name down for mistakes that I admittedly have made. But that was back in when I first started, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago. But those things still carry to now, and people still have that distrust. So you have to be very careful about the way you represent yourself as a business. And my mistake in the beginning was being young, arrogant, and making a lot of money, as any young person, would become, I believe anyway, would become a little bit arrogant and a little bit cocky. And that was my biggest fault. So now it's about being my true person and acting with, like I said, integrity all the time.
Yeah. Which is how you're going to develop trust as well. It's almost like a projection of yourself. Like that's what life is. Everything's just a perception is projection, right?
So exactly.
That would make sense now that you've got more trustworthy, people around you. And so that's integral for now managing and growing these. So who is it like you bounce these ideas off, like to grow to the next stages? Like how have you got systems in place going forward for like managing carbon code, Damos,
Yeah.
LM, or
Yeah.
like, yeah, what's the go with that? Because this is like enterprise level now, so like
Yeah,
growing it
absolutely.
to that next level.
So for me, it's setting up a physical facility in which I can provide services through each company, whether remotely or whether in person. That facility will probably be coming around next year. I have somewhere now, which is fantastic. One of my business associates, Lyle at Bubba's Racing Bits, and I are working together at the moment at his shop. And it's an amazing opportunity that he's provided me to work there with him. And I'm very, very grateful for that. But yeah, next year we'll be looking at getting our own sort of thing going on, and it will be something that no one else has done before in a way in which no one else has done it before either. So that idea and those ideas, I consult with my team, I consult with Lyle, and I consult with my partner at the time, obviously, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of emotional support of an entrepreneur comes from their family or their partners. So you need to make sure that your partner is there for you and they are doing the right thing for you. And I do feel like I'm getting that. So home life is a big thing. Look after your personal life, look after your exercise regime, look after your health. And then that will put you in the better mindset for you to be able to run a business effectively. The terrible sleeps, the terrible food, drinking too much coffee, alcohol, drugs. Stay away from a lot of the illicit stuff, obviously, but try and limit the amount of things you put in your body that aren't good for you. Your health directly is proportionate to how effective you are in business and how effective you are as a person and how you feel. Alan Watts says all that you see out in front of you is inside of your head. So the way you perceive the world is how you feel. And that comes through the way you treat yourself and how you eat and your lifestyle. So, and you would know that for sure, man.
Yeah, no, that's
Of
why
all
I'm
people.
smiling here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're saying the right words, man. I guess we can go into that because you work a lot. You do a lot of hours, and I think you've probably had times where I know you've had times where you've seen what you were eating and what your output was and like how long you could work and what's kind of like the main thing you're doing at the moment to stay so consistent. I know you mentioned one thing, having the right environment around you. Every
100%.
single person I've interviewed has had that exact same thing, so
100%.
that's really cool. Have the right people around you. In terms of your health and that, like I know you've taken it a bit more seriously now in terms of like what you're eating. Like, how have you noticed that transition into, your work? Like, what's improved in your opinion?
Well, to be honest with you, it's just the fatigue that I was experiencing prior to really taking a good look after my health was significant. I was very, very tired, and I'll be honest, even normally by about 2 or 3 o'clock every day, I get tired. But before, I was almost completely incumbent and inoperable. I could not work at all. And so now what I do is I focus every week. My partner and I, we sit down, we write down a list of all the food we're going to get, and we cook real healthy meals. And that's another thing as well, like trying to enjoy moments and really take in the moment outside of work. So when I am cooking, I'm really enjoying cooking. I've got some French music, cafe music on, or I've got some jazz playing, and I'm in the zone and I'm just enjoying the experience of cooking something really delicious and then experiencing eating that. And I, just trying to wholeheartedly be invested in every moment. And that's been something that I was not very good at. And you would know that before, that I was not particularly good. I was always in my head, stressed about work and everything.
How did that impact your work though? Because I think this is like really important. If people are experiencing this currently, maybe they don't know what's possible and what could change. So like, go back to those times when you were really in your head. And what was the work like, and how has it impacted, and what you could have done better, like if you were doing this new, being more present and eating the right foods? Like, what's that kind of contrast there?
Oh, well, there's plenty of examples. When you're someone who is more tired, you are more irritable, you're less patient, you're less cognitive in terms of your ability to problem solve, and you don't have a lot of time for people who possibly need your time, and your intentions are not necessarily skewed, but the way in which you deliver your intentions, or the way that you say things, is sometimes not with the best delivery when you're not feeling so well. And that was one of the things that I've noticed now, is that the way that I speak how patient I am with people, how understanding I am of certain situations and people's situations and whatnot. It's very different now to the way it was. It's very, very different. Anxiety is less now. I'm more aware of certain things now. Being aware is a big part of being able to work on issues that you have as a person. And I think that's been one of the biggest growths to me personally is being aware of my own personal challenges mentally, physically, and trying to understand the certain limitations that I have and the way that I am acting and how can I improve that. And yeah, it also might be a maturity thing. It might just come with age, or it might just come with the amount of time you spend trying to work on it. I'm sure there are people in their 50s who haven't figured it out yet, but for myself, it was just every day a continuous effort trying to work on myself. And every day I still am trying to work on myself, and I still pick out things that I need to improve on in personal and business lives. So it's just yeah, just being reflective and being aware. They're very important. Yeah.
No, that's it. When you do you have like a process for being reflective, or is this you? I know you. I don't know if you journal or like do you write down stuff at the start of each day, like, or is this kind of you just kind of aware of your thoughts? You're like super high functioning. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I've tried journaling, and for me, I liked the idea of it, and I liked what it allowed me to reflect on. But for me, every day is so different and so new, and new challenges pop up every day. And I feel like the way in which I reflect is by discussion with friends and family and my partner. And that's how I sort of debrief my own day is I like to talk it out. And I've experienced the writing it down. I've experienced all different ways of trying to do it. But the best way for me to debrief is to talk to people about it. I find like for me, that's a way to release mentally, is to just to engage with others. And some people love writing things down. Some people need alone time. Some people need to watch a movie. But yeah, I feel like for me, I often will debrief by talking to people or watching a documentary. I love documentaries. I love to learn. I love learning languages. So it's funny. I often debrief by giving myself other things to do or learn about that interest me.
Yeah.
Cooking, languages, whatever. Yeah.
And you kind of get like that insight, hey, from when you are learning, you're like, oh, maybe that's what this problem is. And yeah, I think the main thing is growth, like the growth mindset, and not just being limited by a fixed mindset and being like, oh, well, this is the problem, I guess I can't do anything else. Like, and it still comes from that never taking no as an answer. Like it's that's such a core belief in you. And I've seen it, like, you have a vision and you just do it. And that's like I'm almost envious. I modeled that sometimes, like,
No,
so
that's
it's
good.
it's crazy, like the power of when you just have a goal and like you just do it, and there's no other way, like just tunnel vision on it. Obviously it gets to a point where you've got to look elsewhere when you're going for next things, but
100%.
it's really important.
Yeah, exactly right. Goal setting is a very unique thing, and I feel like for every person it's different. Every person's environment, situation, context matters. For me, I've always tried to make sure that my environment and my situation has allowed me to do the things that I have goals to do. And I guess realistic goals, there are obviously, you could say, oh, hold on. I often also do say shoot for the stars, land on the moon, shoot for the moon, land in the next country, as an example of just a saying. You kind of do have to have big goals sometimes. You do have to think big, because often your attempt to reach that level will net you some sort of progress, which is further than what you anticipated initially if you had reduced your goals. But yeah, I just find life pretty exciting. Goals are exciting, and like, I believe that we're only here for a finite amount of time, so why not make every second count? Why not give it a shot? Punch it straight in the face. You know what I mean? Like, just like give it your all and go for it. Like, what have I got to lose? Maybe 2 years of trying to fix the situation if I really fuck up. But at the point now, it's like it's well worth the try, because the positives so far outweigh the negatives. Like, what sort of a lifestyle can I create for myself? What sort of a business can I create? What sort of an experience can I have as an individual living on this planet otherwise? There are people who go traveling on $1,000. They drop themselves in a random country and they go, okay, I need to get a job. I don't have any other money apart from this $1,000 that finishes by the end of the week. But they get a job, they work at a bar, they help fucking clean horses. I don't know. But at the end of the day, they make it work and they have a great time. And it's a life experience that you would not get. Life is like a real, game, basically. It's like a game. You're a character and you just full free roam.
It is like that. I think that's it's a really fun idea to have, is that life is a game, because a lot of people take it really seriously. And I think there's parts that are serious, it's never one-sided, but yeah, that's actually a really interesting insight. Like, it is like a game if you treat it like that. It's a bit more lighthearted as well.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be so serious all the time. And there are some things that are meant to be jokes. There are some things where, you shouldn't be angry at yourself for not progressing when you're sitting at the park on a bench and you're watching the ducks in the river or whatever. Like, you should not be upset at yourself that that's not progress, because every day is a new day, and every day is amazing that you're on this earth and that you're able to exist and that you're able to be you. So just, take every moment, experience every moment. Not every moment's got to be positive or negative, but basically just, if you have something that you want to do, today's the best day to do it,
Yeah. Again, a really common thing I've heard is that it's doing it now rather than later. Like, I'll go into that. I think that's important, actually. How many times have you, firstly, like, had an idea and not taken action on it, and then realized, like, fuck, if I just had done it, I would be so much further. And then like, maybe talk us through something like that, and then other times where you've just had an idea, you felt anxiety of it not working, but you did it anyway. Like, I feel like that would be a really important thing.
100%. I mean, I've got an idea, and I've got another business that is called Patch Tune that's sitting on the side, and I know it is an extreme profit center, but I just don't have the capital right now to put money into it to get it to where I need it to be. And I have made decisions which have probably benefited me personally more than in business, over selfish reasons. Like, maybe I wanted a new car and I spent money on a new car instead of in this other business idea that I have. So I could have done that. And that's a, example of maybe a time in which I made the decision I did. Not, it's positive in its own way, it's negative in its own way. But there have definitely been times where I've had ideas in this industry. Maybe I've wanted to delve into a different vehicle and make and model. Maybe I've wanted to focus more on Japanese cars or aftermarket ECUs instead of the OEM ones. But, I feel like at some level, I'm also comfortable. Like, everyone sort of gets to the stage where they have a little bit of comfort. And I think you need a little bit of cushion, and you need a little bit of knife's edge to be walking on at the same time.
Would you say that's kind of how you live?
I would say that, yeah, absolutely. I feel like I need the ability to walk on the knife's edge and then sit down on the cushion if I need to. You know what I mean? So I've got the ability to, if I have a spite of motivation, if I have a new idea, I can walk that edge. But if if maybe I'm not in a innovative mindset, and I'm not in a mood in which I believe I can grow at the time, it's more about rest and repair and trying to build up my confidence again. If maybe I've lost confidence or something like that, rest for a little bit and then get back straight out there. You know what I mean? Life isn't necessarily a balance. Again, everyone's different. You'll see people who have the same routine every day and they love it. My routine changes every day. I don't have any particular time I get up, any particular time I go to bed. I do what I feel like doing. If I need to work because I want to make some money, I work until 4 a.m. in the morning, because that's just what I decide to do. And, it works for me. And I can't predict my motivation. When I do schedule my days, I find it throws me off. There might be times where I am so heavily motivated, want to smash out so much work, but it's 2 a.m. in the morning. There might be times where I want to smash out work and I literally have just woken up out of bed. I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat lunch because I'm so motivated to work sometimes. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but it just...
Well, that's actually, like, beside, maybe there's a better word for it. I don't know if it's motivation, but maybe it's like like that's the passion, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
thing that everyone's kind of pursuing, but that comes from that goal that you've got, that also the pressure as well, like that this is exactly living on that knife's edge, because
Oh
you've
yeah.
got people relying on you as well now.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, and then that's because of the goals that you set and the standard you hold yourself to
Oh,
to do
100%.
that. And I think
100%.
actually, because I know you, I probably wouldn't have been able to figure out this question, but like, let's talk about like standards and like, how did you even like, how do you know what standard to set yourself at? Like, I know it came from maybe mentors or things like that, but I know it's like we're in a constant state of, like getting comfortable because of the standards you're in, and then you reach like
Yeah.
this breaking point, and you're like, okay, fuck that, I don't want to be like this anymore. Time to raise the standards. Like,
Yeah.
what's kind of your idea on that?
I think my roots of my standards and my discipline comes from maybe my time in the Air Force Cadets. I spent 5 years in the Air Force Cadets, a heavily disciplined environment, but a lot of opportunity for growth. And I think the ability to grow in an environment which was heavily disciplined and did have high standards for the way you dress, the way you present yourself, the way you speak, and your performance, whether that be in a military environment or not. I felt like that sort of formed the basis of my character throughout many years of my life, and maybe even up until now. The lack of interest I have for partying, the lack of interest I have for drugs, and that sort of environment comes from the discipline and the standards that I hold myself to. I want to be able to wake up in the morning without a hangover, without feeling like shit, because I need to perform, because I'm representing myself, I'm representing my brand. And apart from this, apart from the Air Force Cadets, it's also just been the standard that I would like to see myself being upheld to. Who are the sort of people I want to do business with? Who are the sort of friends I want to be around? They all have an influence on your life, as I said before, and as you've said many times. Your environment makes up a lot of who you are and your ability to perform. So if your environment is at a standard which promotes you to perform and promotes you to be good, have good judgment of character, and be innovative, and be loving and have integrity, then that's what I want around me. You know what I mean? So whatever best promotes the person that I want to be and where I want to be in life, that's the standard that I uphold myself to. It'll be different for everyone. There are different standards I have in business to other people, and then personal relationships, like romantic relationships. There's standards of everything, but I feel like my highest standard is what I hold to myself, and I try and always be the best I can be in everything that I try, and everything that I give effort to, I give 100%. And one of the biggest things
Yeah.
I've learned is not to spread myself too thin. I tried to do university, run a business, all these sorts of things at the same time. And, it's like not having enough paint in the paint tin and then trying to paint the whole wall. You just can't do it. You're going to have blotches of paint all over the wall. But if you've got a full tin because you're giving it full attention, you're going to be able to paint the wall. And then whatever it is that you take interest in is going to be successful. So for me, it's been a big learning curve by leaving or deferring university, has allowed me to uphold the standard that I expected myself in my business life. So
yeah,
which
is hard as well. Like, I think it's a lot of things we think we should be doing, but you're just kind of unclear, because well, this is like what I teach anyway. But like, the clearer you get, the more inspired action you can take, and then the less options that you spread yourself to, because you think you should be doing certain things, because exactly like what you should be working on, because again, the standards you hold yourself to, and everything like that. Yeah,
exactly. And everyone's on their own journey, and I don't feel like it's the right thing for other people to project their opinions and what they believe you should be doing as a person, how you should be acting, unless it's for your own good and you understand that. But in terms of career, in terms of the person you want to be in life, I think that's all up to you, and you should be the best you that you can be, whether that's being a doctor or a lawyer, or whether that's being a janitor. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're satisfied and you love life and you're having a fulfilling time experiencing life, then that's what's most important.
I think that's what success is, to be honest. Like, we hit that on the head.
Yeah, you
like,
can be a successful janitor just as much as someone can be a successful neurosurgeon. You know what I mean? You can still have an amazing life, still be the best father. Just because you're a neurosurgeon, a lawyer, or you're a CEO of a massive company and you earn a lot of money doesn't mean you're the best father to your kids. There are so many different ways to be successful, and judging someone's success by the car they drive or the house they live in is so flawed.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Like, as a society, we're so what do you call it? Just the front facing. I forgot what you call it.
Surface level.
Yeah,
superficial.
exactly. Yeah, superficial. That's the word. Yeah, we're so superficial. Yeah, it's about so much more than that.
Well, I think you, like, again, because I know you,
Yeah.
that's something you went through as well. Hey, like you had it's not bad to have materialistic goals. Like, I've got them.
Yeah.
But you went through, like, maybe go into that, like what you thought was what you wanted.
Yeah,
and then you got it and it was empty. Like, I think that's really important, actually.
Yeah, 100%. So often we have an understanding as people that a particular class of people or a particular group of people are good for us in the way that which they may enrich our life in some way. Now, my personal experience, not naming names, not naming particular groups, but I bought a particular car for the prime reason of being associated with particular people. But after, a little bit of time owning this particular vehicle, I got to learn the sort of people that I was surrounded by. And for them, it wasn't the love of their car, or not all of them anyway. It wasn't for the love of their car or the love of just experience. It was superficial. It's about, hey, look at me, look how nice my watch is, look how nice my bag is, my car, look how cool I am, look how rich I am, look how successful I am. And being around those people, you quickly realize that that's not a way that I want to live for myself anyway. The reason why I buy materialistic things is because it's a physical representation of the hard work I put into my business, and I like to be proud of myself. And for me, it's an experience I get to share with the people who are close to me. And if I buy a nice car these days, it's because I want to feel the excitement and joy, and I want some sort of physical return and emotion, just like I got the first time I got my car tuned when I was young. I want that feeling again for the hard work that I'm putting in now. And I guess that for me is why I buy nice cars and why I love nice cars. And, but back then, that was one of the biggest things that I learned, is that just by having a particular vehicle or having a watch or having a house and associating with people who have those things, that doesn't always mean that they're good people and they've got the right intentions for you. You know what I mean? You'll find that there are superficial people are often very, very jealous, and there's a lot of tall poppy syndrome in the world surrounding industry, surrounding people who do have things and those who do buy things for the front. You know what I mean? So, and people will learn that very quickly. And those who are amazing human beings, they'll stay around and they'll be genuine and they'll be there regardless of what car you drive or how successful your business are, because they know at heart that you're a good person and that you have the right intentions. And yeah, again, surround yourself with those people as best you can. I can name a lot of people who I truly love, and you're one of them. And there's people that I've only met briefly 2 or 3 times, and I feel appreciation and trust for them, just because I know the sort of person that they are through the interactions that I've had. So yeah. That was a huge bloody explanation.
No, it's good. I think what the takeaway is your, like, understanding of success, because of you've grown, like, I don't know, like, are you able to speak about, like, what's like the net worth currently of everything? Like,
so look, we had an independent investor last year give us his understanding of what the company was worth at that time, and we came in around $1 million Australian in November. I think it was. Oh no, not November. It would have been maybe July or August 2021.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry.
No, because I just wanted people to hear, because I think
that was last year. I haven't had any sort of evaluation this year by any investors or any particular body, but we would be more than that. In fact, we'd probably be double or triple that now, based on the assets that we have and based on the relationships, contracts we have. But for me, it's not like, again, it's not about the money. Like, I'm proud of where I am, and like, every day is just a good experience, and I love what I do, and that's why I do it. It's because I love it, and the money is the byproduct.
It's a really interesting point of view, because like I know people are aspiring to, you know, get to this level that you're at now, but I think it's important to know like how you're speaking is from like you've gone through all these experiences and you see these people who are, you know, like maybe the average person who's aspiring to do that now, like probably,
Yeah,
you know, you're in your everyday job, you don't really like get to see it from that level as well. So I think
yeah. I
it is
had a
important. Like you get
mm,
success, right? Like
yeah,
it's
100%, man.
and how it
Success is a
impacts
byproduct.
people. Yeah.
If you truly love what you do and you have the right intentions, you will most probably be successful. And money and wealth is a byproduct of that. You know, there are times where I have had very little money, and there have been times where I've had a lot of money, and the person who I was didn't change between those two times. You know, often business, you're at not the mercy, but your profit is a result of just the economy and the industry that you're in. And there, you know, there have been difficult times, but yeah, just remember, like, for people who are aspiring for nice things and they do want to grow their business, make sure you're in it for the right reasons. Make sure you're looking up to the people who have the best intentions for you. Make sure that you know, you're not one. I mean, look, I understand if you're one of those guys who posts your watch every day. I fully respect if you're proud of that, but make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you're either doing it to inspire others, and that's clear, or you know, that you're looking up to people who do want to see you grow, even potentially beyond where they're at. Because I've had people who were there for me, and then as soon as I surpassed where they are at in life, they've cut me out. They've actually done things to proactively cause damage to either my reputation or maybe problems in my personal life. And yeah, it's just yeah, make sure that you are doing what you're doing for the right reasons, and it's not just for the money. Honestly, let me tell you right now from experience, money is a byproduct of you doing what you love and you doing the right thing. You know, if you do the right thing, you're good at it, and people understand that and appreciate you for who you are. Money will come, and that is a known thing for people in business. And I just hope that, and I wish that more people were like that and more people were understanding of that fact, because I feel like too many people are too hungry for the wrong reasons, and hopefully they are humbled in the way in which I have been through the experiences that I've had. Hopefully, you know, they have some similar experiences that allows them to come to that same understanding.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. That was really good. I think, yeah, that's a massive takeaway. A lot of people, especially with social media now, we don't really get
100%, man.
to understand anyway, like what it is to actually run a business. Like you
Yeah.
genuinely run a business, and most people I have here have run a business, and it's not just like, oh, I made all this quick money and like here's my
No.
Lambo, and like and even if they are doing that and they do genuinely have like Lambos and that, like you don't actually see all the work that was put in to get them to that point.
No,
So we have
definitely
like
not.
this massive like cognitive dissonance about actually what even like what does it look like to be like, you know, act with integrity and do it for the right things. Like they
Yeah,
don't,
well, that's the thing, and
you can't
that's
see
not
it.
spoken about, you know.
No, it's
And
not.
yeah, like, because the thing is, what we're shown on social media is trends, and people want instant gratification, and that's what stays trending, right? Is things that gratify people very quickly, and that's anything to do with like very, very high amount of wealth, flashy things. They see a lot of things to do with crypto. And what happens is people get this understanding that those things are actually, you know, mutual, where cryptocurrency allows you to create this sort of lifestyle. But what people don't see is the process that some of these people who they are seeing the flashy cars and all that sort of thing had to go through to get to that point, you know. You've seen people, I've seen people go through the process of literally being nothing to coming out on top. And, you know, you might see people who are superficial get some success, but they will be capped, because those who truly have the ability to take them to the next level, they're not going to work with people like that, because that's not going to represent them in the right way. So they're going to be capped at maybe earning, maybe let's say hypothetically it is $1 million a year. They're going to be capped at earning that, because the people who can take them to that next level require that individual to have a certain amount of integrity and to have a certain way of conducting themselves in business. And, you know, they'll never make it past where they are now, or maybe they'll lose it all. I don't know, but you know,
It's a long
yeah,
game, man. It's such a long
hugely
game,
long,
isn't it?
man,
Like
massively long.
like all these people, like, and like even like you, man, like you're past the average. Like Like it's was it 2 years, 3 years, business fails, you up to 8 years now, and like you keep laterally moving because that's what happens. Things change every
Yes.
day.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like this is not a like you're not just gonna make a quick buck and leave. Like
No.
this is something you got to find something to dedicate your life to and stay true to yourself, like you said. Like do the right thing.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
like Elon Musk, like how long's he been doing all this?
Yeah, very long time.
It
Yeah, very long
even
time.
Richard, like he absolutely loves what he does. Like,
He started at 15. Richard Branson
how old is
selling
he
Student
now?
Magazine. 60 something, 70 something maybe. But yeah,
That's
like
and he's still going. He's still
yeah,
a
hustling since
director.
15, man. That's a long time. And he's an amazing man based
Yeah,
on the things that he's been able to achieve. He was the first entrepreneur to initiate the idea of putting screens in the back of people's seats in airliners. Now, he went to a bank to get, I think it was £3 million or something like that from the bank. The bank wouldn't lend it to him. So you know what he did? He called up Boeing. He's like, hey, Boeing, if I order 10 747s as part of the contract, can you please include seat back videos? And you know what? He couldn't get the finance through the bank, or couldn't get the bank's loan for £3 million, but got the $1 billion fucking loan for the planes, which included the seat, the bloody videos in the back of the seat. So you have to think big to sometimes work your way around problems. And he really thought big, to literally bypass the banking process, going to the manufacturers themselves, getting their department to actually pay for it so that they could sell their planes. That's smart. That's real smart. So things like that.
There's always a workaround, but like again, he had a big vision and he had a big, strong reason. Like I'm sure, like because of how deeply rooted what you're working towards is. If something else comes up, you're not just going to give up. You're always going to find. That's why it's important to have a clear purpose and mission in life. Otherwise, you just float around and you're just a blob and you react to things and you don't know why you have certain like things in your life happen. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that people don't talk about with success is even just like the mental strain that people and entrepreneurs experience becoming successful, and the amount of stress and anxiety and even depression that an entrepreneur will experience becoming what they are today or what they will be. It's at times extremely overwhelming. You think about the responsibility that an individual has managing a company with a huge net worth, and managing employees, managing staff, managing other managing relationships between businesses that rely on you. That's a lot to go to sleep with at night. You know what I mean? And there are times where it is hard to get to sleep because you're like, that needs to happen because old mate over in that country, he needs to feed his family tomorrow, or maybe that's some huge contract opportunity after that. Maybe that client's is a very, very well-known celebrity in that country. So you need to make sure that the job is done absolutely to perfection, or as best that you can get it to. And, you've got that weight on your shoulders for the brand in that country, so.
How do you deal with that yourself? Like,
honestly, it's breaking things down into bite-sized pieces now, trying to chip away slowly at a big problem, piece by piece. Still understand that progress, success, and finalizing something takes time, and things don't happen overnight. Often there have been times where things that I thought would take a day have taken weeks. A problem occurs, something outside of your control happens. It's about having the facilities to deal with that, and making sure that before you commit to something with someone, or before you commit to a service or a job or anything, a relationship, make sure you have the expertise, make sure you have the equipment, and the understanding that if something does go wrong, you can fix it. And I think that's an important thing when it comes to responsibility, is understand that if shit hits the fan, you've got the financial, emotional, and physical ability to repair that situation. And I think that's also been a huge learning curve for me over the past few years, because every bit of downtime costs more money than the profit that it would otherwise make. And you have to remember that, because that's time spent trying to rectify the problem, and then loss of work that you've now suffered as a result of having this issue. So you need to make sure that you can deal with things as quick as possible.
So have you got like a new way then of when you come up when you're planning to do new things, you're accounting for obstacles, the future things that come up? Like is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is managing expectations with customers, clients, managing expectations with business partners. Say, hey, look, these are my cards. I'm not going to pretend like I've got the golden ticket. I'm not going to pretend like I can get this done to you tomorrow. These are the possible hiccups that we could experience. These are the possible issues that we could have. Understand that worst case scenario is this, best case scenario is this. They have an understanding of time. They have an understanding of cost. They have an understanding of everything else. And, if you can engage in business with someone when the expectations are so crystal clear, you won't have any issues regarding any form of business conductivity at that point. But expectations is the most important thing in business with clients and with business partners, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Awesome, man.
Communication and expectations. Yeah.
Sweet. I think we've been going for a little while, and I've loved every minute of it. I think if there was one thing you were to give to the audience listening, I think because you know me, the type of people that are listening to this, what's like one piece of advice you would give for those people who are maybe about to make a big decision, like you had to in the past, or they're thinking about changing their standards and moving it. Like what's one piece of advice you'd have?
It's just one word, and honestly, I've been saying it throughout this entire podcast. It's integrity. If people ensure that in business and in life they have integrity, they at heart want to do the right thing for the purpose of doing the right thing for others and for themselves, everything else will naturally fall into place. And I say that because as long as you do the right thing, and as long as people understand that your intentions are in the right place, when mistakes occur, the damage and the fallout is nowhere near as severe. So make sure that you just have integrity. Go and do those amazing things you want to do. Try those things that you've never tried before, but make sure at heart the intentions are always in the right place. Yeah.
That was awesome, man. Yeah. Well, look, I think we'll leave it there. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Where can people find you?
So if people can just reach out to my personal Instagram or the business page. So it's at Laborde_motorsport for our Instagram, or it's Josh_Laborde for my personal Instagram, or you can hit us up on Facebook as well. Feel free to obviously check it out. We've got a YouTube channel as well. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how my business operates and what the work that I do with a full explanation, check out our Laborde Motorsport YouTube. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll have all the links in the description anyway. But yeah, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you coming on. And we'll leave it for now. Have a good one, man.
Thank you. You too, mate. See ya.